Hi YouTubers, thought I'd take this opportunity to put a video up on some of the jerky that I'm making and the techniques that I'm using. Hope you find it interesting. Please comment with any suggestions or anything that you have. When I first started smoking curing meats, I used the Morton products because they had name recognition for me, and it's a fairly easy set of products to use. In addition to that, they provided very good recipes that you could start with and then modify accordingly as you went along the way. As shown, you'll see the jerky recipe that I copied out of the guide. It's on page 29. This recipe is for a pound of lean beef or game. I used the recipe 1 for 1, except I replaced the sugar with brown sugar. Here I've shown the main ingredients with the exception of the brown sugar. It's black pepper, garlic powder, and Morton sugar cure. I've shown here all the ingredients mixed in the glass bowl, and also show you the appliance that I'm using to shake out the rub onto the cut up London broil. Now I use a pizza pepper or Parmesan cheese shaker, and I found that works the best. Otherwise you get most of the dry rub on any kind of meat that you're doing. It gets unevenly placed and doesn't do a very good job, and you also cannot regulate it very well. To make cutting the London broil or round steak or whatever you're using easier, most recipes, and mine included, I suggest partially freezing the meat to stiffen it up so it can be cut. You'll notice in the next image that I use a specially made device that, well, it's actually a fish cleaning board from Bass Pro Shops, and I've made a couple of modifications to it that allow for the proper thickness of turkey jerky to be made and the proper holding mechanism for cutting London broil. So what I have is the fish cleaning board from Bass Pro Shops or any other place that you might get one, or just it could be a plain board. And the two strips on each side, the two flat strips that I've tacked on each side, are actually paint stir sticks. New ones, of course, not with paint on them. So if you take two paint stir strips and you tack them on, it comes to the right thickness. It's about 1/4 of an inch. It comes to the right thickness to be able to cut your poultry type meats. So you just lay the poultry on the top, and you take a sharp knife and you lay it across the top of the paint stir sticks, and you place some protection over the top to keep your hand from being cut, and you just slowly slice the meat back down the stick, and you end up with a 1/4 inch slab of turkey or chicken or a duck or anything. You'll notice that I have 3 pieces of paint stir stick tacked together. Actually, they're stapled together, and they provide the right thickness for cutting London broil for my particular use. It gives me just under 3/8 of an inch, and that is the the width between the support tines on my Smoky Joe cooker, so I can mount the jerky vertically in that smoker. So that's the right thickness. Now the fish cleaning board doesn't work too good for London broil because it's not flat at that point. So you can just put the London broil on a cutting board, put that 3-piece stick up at the end of it, and just put the knife across the meat and then start slicing. You don't even have to hold the guide up there any longer. So just keep doing that and you get the right thickness. The next few pictures show the London broil, sliced London broil, with the Morton Tender Quick, pepper and other mixture on top. It's been spread across. You see 3 different views of that, and that's in preparation for putting it on the Smoky Joe. Now, one thing I do in order to keep it on the Smoky Joe, and you've probably seen this in other videos, is you just take round toothpicks and you stick it right through the end of the meat. And you do that, I do it all in the kitchen, and then take it out to the Smoky Joe and then mount all the jerky vertically on the top rack. I don't have the middle rack in or the water pan in my Smoky Joe. That way it gets all separated very well, and the smoke impregnates the meat very reliably and very completely. The next few pictures show my smoking setup. I'm using a Weber Smoky Joe. I do have a propane burner in the bottom, which I'm not using during this jerky making process. I have also installed temporarily a hot plate in there, and I get it up around about 500 watts, and it brings the temperature up to somewhere around 130 to 150. I prefer cooking jerky at 150 or slightly less. If you get it too much over 150, it will burn before it dries, so your smoky turns quite a bit darker than you probably want it. In order to generate the smoke, I have an external smoke generator, and I burn pellet wood in there. In this particular case, I'm using apple wood, but I also use hickory for other types of meats. The pellets burn very evenly, and I can use about less than a quart of pellets, and it will last me 4 to 6 hours without touching it or anything as I go along the way. The purpose of the smoke generator, of course, it eliminates the heat that's used to smoke the wood from the smoking process. So you get the smoke in the smoking process, but very little heat from it. So you might consider that, especially if you want to cold smoke a salmon or something or cheese or something like that. In any event, you'll notice that the pictures that I show later with the meat on the Smoky Joe, you'll see how those round toothpicks allow the meat to stand vertically in the Smoky Joe. And the pictures that I have there show it fairly early in the smoking process, then an hour and a half later, then about 4 hours, then at about 6 hours. I took the jerky off at about 6 hours. And then you see a picture of the final product. So thanks for watching the video. Really enjoyed making it, and of course I enjoy making jerky because I enjoy it so much. So if you have any comments, please leave them. Thank you.